Here are 3 things that you should pay attention to if you're planning to buy brand new construction. Now, almost all developers withhold information. Some of them straight up lie, okay? But majority of them, it's in their best interest to hold information that would significantly impact the resale value of your property, or even the price that you should pay for the property at the point of purchase, because it would not serve them well. And they don't have any fiduciary responsibility to tell you all the information. You're supposed to ask these questions yourself. And a lot of times your own real estate agent doesn't want to ask difficult questions because they want the sale. Real estate agents do not get paid if you don't transact. They try normally to do their best once you open escrow, but in some way, even before you open escrow, it's kind of like a lot of times they're on the other side. They're trying to convince you to pay, right? Come up to the price and pay it, and buy it, right? Like that's the energy. And then once escrow opens, they think their job really starts. As to, I really think you should really do all these 3 things before you actually put an offer on the property, or at least when the offer is being negotiated, okay? You should know this information. Number 1, and probably one of the most overlooked, is the fact that you should know who the neighbors are, if there are permits being pulled on the houses next to you, and if it's an empty lot, that would be a very obvious choice. If you're gonna have construction next to you for the next 2 years or not, that will significantly impact the amount of money you should pay right now and your resale value in 2 different ways. If there's an empty lot right next to you, you should already assume that there's gonna be a house built there, which you probably not gonna have any control over, where the windows are gonna be, how they're gonna look inside your backyard or not, how pretty or ugly it's gonna be. You're not gonna have that information. But a lot of times it's more like a fixer house, right? Like you just don't know. And sometimes the same developer even has bought 2 lots next to each other and is developing one, and is going to develop the second one with the proceeds from the sale of the first one. But they would not disclose this information, and they don't have a fiduciary to do so, to tell you all this information if you don't ask. You definitely, if there's an obvious, like an empty lot or a tear down, or the house that is in really, really bad shape, you should ask your real estate agent or hire an architect to research to see, hey, are they pulling permits on this property? Who is the owner? And one of the best things I do for myself and all my other clients is that I go knock on the neighbors' doors. It's a wealth of information. This house that I'm filming this from, I talk to 10 different neighbors from the same street, the street over, ask them all types of questions before I pull the trigger on this property. They give you so much information that your real estate agent would never tell you. So write that down, okay? Find out what the hell is going on with your neighbors, if there's going to be construction next to you. And the way it affects your resale value is, initially it would be really bad. The first 2 years, imagine construction workers. Sometimes there's theft also, because construction sites sometimes bring not the best people to the neighborhood. There are thieves that actually rob construction sites of material and finishes and appliances and stuff, and just noise and pollution. You might have allergic to it, right? Depending on what they build, it could be a positive for you after 2 years once the construction is done. If the architectural plans are decent, if they've done a good job rebuilding or building a new construction there, right? So it's definitely a negative in the beginning, but it could become a positive, right? You just have to see if you have the stomach for it. But initially, as far as price goes, if the construction has not started, it's definitely a negative, okay? Don't let them try to sell you, hey, once it finishes, you'll have a great comp. That's not a good argument, okay? Most likely they're using your property as a comp for the resale value of the next one, right? You don't need another comp. So it is negative always, unless they build something more beautiful than yours and it sells higher. And if property prices are going higher, right? If you're on an upward trend, it could help you. But sometimes developers build an identical home to the one that you have, and then you have like a twin brother or twin sister right next to you, which is also a negative. You want your house to be one of a kind, okay? Super, super important. You don't want to have it like an identical comp, and that's not a good thing, because if the other one sells under stress, it would directly affect the resale value of yours. They look the same. If that one sold for whatever reason, they went through a divorce and they had to do a quick sale, then that becomes a comp for your property, and it's a negative, and it's almost identical in style. The second thing that you should definitely pay attention to, comps. A lot of developers, this really applies to home development, like plan A, plan B, plan C. They're like 3-4 architectural styles in a community. One developer is building and the homes don't look like each other. But what you normally see in these situations is, this is also even in condos, like if you're buying a brand new condo in a condominium, very, very common. You would see some of the best units in the building is already taken. And if you ask them, they're like, oh, those are already sold. And this is what they sold for. I'm telling you, 99% 90% of the time, those are not real comps. Those are very close friends, family, lenders who part of their dealing they're doing with each other, sometimes subcontractors, they would purchase the property at a premium price to set the comp. There are questions that you have to ask to make sure to consider that as a comp or not. This is extremely common. It's like elephant in the room that no one even talks about. Almost all developers do this. Okay, most of them do. Okay, doesn't matter if it's a condominium building or subdivision with 20 houses on it. Normally the first or second house, they would say something, oh, those sold immediately. You know, they would kind of spin it that way too. They'll be like, oh, those were just sold right off the bat. That's when you want to ask a question, who was the buyer? And they would be like, you know, they would try to spin it off a little bit. You're like, oh, there's just some person who they knew the lender, they promised them this lot. Well, what kind of relationship did they have? What's their name? And you would normally see a lot of times it's bought under an LLC, which you won't be able to find out who bought it. That's when you exactly want to put your foot down and ask questions, because that's an artificial comp. If you're being nice to it, it's a gray zone, okay? If not illegal. Setting artificial comps at a high prices to set the comps is at the very minimum, very, very frowned upon, if not illegal. You have to pay attention to that, and that is a really, really important factor that could significantly affect it. What if it's not in a community? Real estate is one of the most inefficient markets out there. It's the whole reason why I've dedicated my life to eliminating buyer's remorse in real estate, is because people make a ton of mistakes. Let's say it's just a flip house, right? It's not a brand new, it's a remodel. Some person has flipped an older home to a new home, maybe added square footage, and the seller agent is providing comps to convince your team, your buyer's agent, and yourself that you should come up in price. And they're using a comp in the neighborhood that is pretty high or looks good. What you have to do is find out what the actual story of that is. Don't be shy. Call the real estate agent. You can find out who was the buyer agent, who was the listing agent. And you can find out from the listing agent of that one. It's like, hey, I see this property sold. Who was the buyer who ended up buying this property? And if you hear, oh, it was a buyer from out of town who didn't know the neighborhood and overpaid on the property, because people overpay on properties all the time, especially when they go from a lower price bracket to a higher one because they haven't played in that sandbox yet. They don't know what to expect, or they're changing from one neighborhood to another neighborhood where they don't know the new neighborhood, or the city is even worse. If they're moving from another city, they almost always make a mistake. So is that a comp? To me, it's not. If someone overpays for a property because they didn't know, it's just the nature of the market being inefficient, and I will take that comp out. I wouldn't use that comp. So if even your own buyer's agent, a lot of them buyer's agents would tell you, try to convince you, they're like as if they're working for the sell side, to come up in your price and providing comps for you. You should do your own due diligence. No one's going to do it for you. You have to go knock on the door, find out who the owner is, call the agents who represented that transaction, start asking difficult questions if you want to get to the bottom of it, of how much you have to pay. The third and the most important, you have to grade this property based on the 10 principles of quality. I'm going to provide you guys sheets where you can go download from my website. It's free. You just put your email address and you download this sheet. I'm going to go over them very quickly. You need to take this sheet and take it with you to open houses that you're seeing, every house you go, and you start grading your own property. This is the system I use to critique all the properties, to buy properties for my clients, to consult on, and it's exactly what I teach, what each factor means in my 5-day workshop. It's the principle of what I do. I'm going to go over them, to write them down, and you can go actually download the easy PDF where you can print it out at home and just take it with you all the time. Super, super easy. Number one, location. You go to the house you're looking at. You will try to be as objective as possible and rate the location. Is it a 5? Is it a 7? Is it an 8? As far as price per square foot goes, the prestige of it. Now, there's about 10 factors that I cover in my 5-day workshop. What makes a good neighborhood? I'm not going to go into that, but there's a lot of factors. But just go with your gut. Okay, start with your gut. Then lot quality. Now, you want to look at your lot quality. Is it all flat, and what kind of dimensions does it have? Is it really long and narrow? Is it sloped? You score it 0 to 10 again. Again, there's many factors to each one to qualify it. I covered that. But for this sake, you just get going and you start creating a palette for yourself. Lot utilization. What does that mean? Lot utilization means how comfortably the house sits on the lot. Do you have a frontage? Do you have a tight side setbacks, or have a wide setbacks? How deep is your backyard? Do you have a private driveway? How comfortable? It's not about maximizing the whole, like building a McMansion here, okay? It's about how comfortable the house sits on the lot. The more comfortable, it gets a 10. If it's super tight, maxed out, it gets a 0. Lot orientation. What is the orientation of this lot with respect to sun? How much natural light you're getting into the afternoon areas? This is like when you open the door to the house, you open up. Which way are you facing? If you're facing south in the northern hemisphere, that's good. That means in the backyard area, which is typically location where the living rooms are, the kitchen, kitchen, the living room is over there, you're going to get the most amount of natural light coming in. And also your orientation to a lot of other things. There's a list of 10, 20 of them I cover in my 5-day workshop. Like, how are you close to a freeway? But there's like many lists, right? Like you score it if it's orientation, respect to something that is an annoyance, okay? Privacy. This is very important. Do people look to the front yard, side yard, and backyards? How tall the hedges are? Is there a direct line of sight into the house or into the front of the house? Now, the worst part is the backyard. That's the worst score you should get. If the backyard is there's a lot of people looking into it, it's the worst. Front yard, second most important. Side yard, the least. And then you move on. Views. Is it a view property or not? If it's not a view property, just give it a 0. And then if it's a view property, then we have, is it a city view? Is it an ocean view? If you've seen my other videos on my main channel, you will see I talk about views extensively. I define what makes a good view, and then you score the view as well over there. Architectural style. This is very important and probably one of the most difficult ones. How authentic this architectural style it is to what it's supposed to be. And does it have flaws? And to spot the flaws, you really have to see a lot of different properties. And I go in my workshop how to spot the flaws. But if you see abnormalities as to the definition of what this architectural style want to be, for example, if it's a Mediterranean home, does it look like a Mediterranean home from Italy? Or does it look like a Mediterranean home that was built in the 1990s in, Orange County? Finishes. Okay, this is super important. It's pretty subjective, and neighborhood, city, and city could change, but you have to identify which cities are trendsetting the finishes and where the finishes of this particular house is into the cycle of that finish. Finishes normally come in cycles of 10 years. Are the finishes of this house towards the end of the 10 cycle, or is in the beginning of the 10-year cycle? Very important. Super, super important in how much you end up paying for this property. The other thing is layout. Okay, now obviously there's elements of layout that we really like. Everyone likes more open layouts, but also how functional it is. What is the bedroom distribution? Where are the bedrooms? Is the backyard flat to the ground level? I call it flat upside down houses on my channels all the time, right? What is it? There's maybe 5-6 elements that make a layout good, but just go with your gut, score it out over there. And then scale and volume. What are the ceiling height? What are the ratios of width, length, and height of the room? Is the size of the house, the square footage of the house, really a small house, or is it a big house? Is it in the middle compared to what's out there in the neighborhood? Go over here, start scoring it. If you start scoring this, you get better and you create a palette for this. I've done this perhaps for 1,500 homes, and I've made videos for probably half of them. So this is my style. This is when I critique properties. I critique properties based on these principles. So if you want to really get good at it, print them out, take them to open houses. Every house you see, score the property right there. And if you really want to know all the factors, and I cover these 10 factors in 3 days to tell you all the details that you need to know for each one of these factors. We cover location, lot quality, and lot utilization on the day 1, lot orientation, privacy view in the day 2, architectural style, finishes, layout, and scale and volume in day 3. And then on day 4, we practice scoring properties and the reasoning behind it. We also talk about avatars in day 4, and day 5 the same thing. How to identify the avatars based on what you have, what you could fix about these, right? What are the basics of these, and what could you fix about them? Some of them you can't fix. Like if it's not a view property, it's not a view property, you can't fix it. But architectural style, if it has a flaw, I'll teach you how to spot the flaw. A lot of you wouldn't even be able to do that right now. You might see, we're like, hey, something is off. You wouldn't know how to fix it. I teach you guys how to fix it. And then you take that into account. It's like, okay, I can buy this, but I can make it better. So then how much upside I'm going to have, right? The cost association, all that stuff we talk about day 4 and day 5. So if you're interested to learn more about the 5-day workshop, what are these 10 principles? What are the rules and elements that affect the score for each one of them? You can click on the link description. You can read the testimonials, people who took it. I offered 100% money back. Not a single person took it. Everyone was super, super happy with it. And if you want to see on my main channel where I actually critique a property, you can watch this video and subscribe to the channel. I intend to do a lot of these free content where I teach you guys different stuff. And if someone wants to take it one step farther to get really, really good at spotting flaws in properties, evaluating the properties, not overpaying for properties, not making mistakes on properties, they can take the 5-day workshop. Otherwise, there's a lot of free content on this channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the comments.